It's your boy Amreezy, and welcome to this week on StocksFC for the week commencing May the 13th, 2024. We're going to talk StocksFC. The Premier League season's coming to an end, so get comfortable, make yourself a cup of tea. If you've not made yourself a cup of tea yet, don't worry, pause the video, go make a cup of tea, and you know the game, people. While the video's paused, give the video a like and a subscribe. It helps this channel grow. I'm still new at all of this, so it helps me massively. It's all appreciated. Unpause the video. Let's go and let's talk StocksFC. So, StocksFC have just turned 1 year old. So, congratulations to the team at StocksFC for that. 1 year old. The app has gone, well, not the app, the site has gone from almost nothing to having a lot of Premier League season players, season coming to an end, having had a good season, a lot of team of the months, team of the weeks, a lot of payouts from the team. The site seems to be growing at a good rate. I think they have to hope that in the summer they get their marketing spot on and we hit the next Premier League season with lots of new users. But for now, I think it's really good first year from StocksFC. And yeah, the Premier League season, it's the last weekend coming up this weekend. So I'm going to be previewing the final Premier League weekend of the season. If there's any stocks you can buy quickly for that last weekend, or if we need to be thinking Euros, Copa America, and team of the season now. I'm going to be showing you my portfolio. My activity has been very quiet. I think I've only bought one new stock since last week, so I'll show you who that is later. And yeah, I'm also going to show you how last weekend went, the best stocks, the team of the week, and all of that good stuff. So let's start there. Let's start this week's video by looking at the team of the week from the weekend just gone. The wait is over. Here's team of the week for the weekend just gone. And it was a quiet week. I mean, the last couple of episodes, last couple of weeks, I've been showing you, we've had people scoring 100 points. And compared to that, this week, a very low scoring week. The top 4 stocks were all midfielders, so it was a good week for midfielders. And it was an interesting team of the week because there was no high scorers. The big boys didn't really come and deliver that we usually see in the team of the week. So there was the opportunity for players like Souček, Mateta, Bowen, people that we don't usually see in the team of the week. So number one, in at number one, well, it was a joint number one, but we're going to give number one to Elise. I'm not quite sure how to get that pronunciation right, but Elise at Crystal Palace, joint top this week with 67 points with Bernardo Silva. The two midfielders both getting 67 points. And interestingly, neither of those two players would have made the top 5 players last week. So both of their scores at 67, that's quite low. They both wouldn't have made my top 5 last week. So a quiet week this week. They get the top spot. The second spot or third in the list is Mbeumo at Brentford. He comes in with 65, so not far behind another midfielder. Another midfielder takes the number 4 spot. Souček at West Ham. And Mateta comes in at number 5 with 60. Mateta also did have the joint score with White in defense and Tarkowski in defense, but we've given the number 5 spot to Mateta because he was on IPO recently. So if you've picked up that IPO, I think I was talking last week's video about Mateta being an IPO and how, you know, he's a bit of a good option, but you don't know what Crystal Palace are going to do in the summer. But I did say, I remember, you get him for the end of the season at least, and then you can sell him on maybe for a tiny bit of profit because Crystal Palace are finishing the season strong. Mateta's their number 1 guy up front, and he's getting service from Eze, he's getting service from Elise, he's got good creative midfielders. Next season for Palace, we don't know if he's going to have as good a service. Are those players going to leave? We don't know if Crystal Palace is going to sign another striker. So he was a short-term pick, I think, if you went for the IPO of Mateta, but now looks like a really good pick because he's giving you in plays, he's giving you a team of the week, and he looks like a good pick. So you just got to hope now, probably either sell him before the end of the season, or you hope he's there next season and the main man still for Crystal Palace. And if he is, he's a good long-term pick. So they're the top 5 stocks from the team of the week. The team in whole is Riot in goal. Arsenal picking up a nice bit of form again ahead of that title push with White. So you had double Arsenal defense. Tarkowski, Everton continuing that good form. Him and Pickford were in team of the week last week. Here he is back again. And then Porro at Spurs. Not so much his clean sheets, but more his attacking output. In midfield, they're all in the top 5. Elise, Silva, Mbeumo, Souček. Some interesting names there. We don't usually see all of these players there. You know, we've not got the big hitters at sort of Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal. You know, they're not there anymore, apart from Silva, I suppose. But no De Bruyne, no Foden. And then up front, Mateta, Bowen, and Hudson-Odoi. Again, Hudson-Odoi making team of the week. 2 weeks after his IPO. So if you got his IPO, Hudson-Odoi, he's had a great time on the platform. 2 team of the weeks, really picking up some form. I watched that game against Chelsea. Thankfully, as a Chelsea fan, I'm going to say thankfully, but thankfully Chelsea won. But Hudson-Odoi, in my opinion, was the best player on the pitch. He was better than any other Chelsea players. He was even better on the day than Palmer. I mean, Hudson-Odoi was running the show, scored a great goal, and I kind of wish I bought some of those IPOs now of Hudson-Odoi. At the time, I was a bit unsure if Nottingham Forest could get relegated, if Hudson-Odoi was going to sort of maintain his position in the first team. But now, I think he's guaranteed first team. Nottingham Forest, if they do stay in the Premier League, which they should now, if they sign players, which, you know, Nottingham Forest signed a whole load of players at the summer before, have been punished for it. I think if surely Nottingham Forest are going to be a bit more sensible this summer, not sign so many players they can't afford. And that means Hudson-Odoi should be their number one left winger next season. So, good stocks. So they're the team of the week stocks. Let's look at the top payouts per stocks. So these are the stocks that had the highest payout per stock if they got in-play rewards of team of the week. Brennan Johnson at Tottenham and Son at Tottenham. Spurs taking the top 2 spots here. If you had them, you got a nice payout. Even though Spurs are a bit of a shambles at the moment, what's good about StocksFC is you kind of don't need to really worry about the defense if you've, say, just got the attackers. So Johnson and Son, you don't really need to worry about Spurs' defense. They're still scoring goals, and that's kind of the problem at Spurs, is that they just go gung-ho for everything. So they score goals. So you don't really want Spurs defenders or goalkeepers if they came on the platform, but the attackers, Son, Johnson, look at them, having a great time. Dini, bit of a strange, not usually in these charts, but at Villa, you know, he's there. Souček, Bailey, McAllister always seems to be in the top payouts per stock each week. Caicedo at Chelsea. The Chelsea boys are getting going. I don't want to get too excited, but we're getting a bit of momentum and maybe a last push for that sixth spot in the Premier League. Who knows? So Caicedo at Chelsea. Havertz, we've been seeing him in there lately a bit. Kane, the non-Premier League stock on StocksFC. Kane getting in there because Bayern Munich had a good Champions League midweek and he's still got, well, no, he doesn't have anything. They're out. That's it. Kane stock's finished, apart from the Euros. He's still got the Euros to come for England, where hopefully he will be smashing it for England and getting hat-tricks every game. So if you've got Kane, I hope he can keep rewarding you in the Euros, but he's out of the Champions League. That's it. Champions League party done for Kane. And De Bruyne last on the list. So they are the top payouts per stock. Let's take a quick look now at my portfolio and any new stocks that I've bought since last week. Right then, let's take a look at my portfolio and the IPOs for this week on StocksFC. We'll start off with the IPOs, and they are Braithwaite at Everton, Ouattara at Bournemouth, and Harvey Elliott at Liverpool. Some interesting stocks here. Not quite as appealing for me as last week, but I think from these, Braithwaite is the one I want to go for, and the one that I'm most tempted for. He's the cheapest as well. I just think from what I've seen of Everton this season, he's been really good. He looks like he could be a potential England centre-back. He could, I mean, England don't have a lot of centre-backs at the moment. They don't really have great depth at centre-back. So when this kind of current generation of Maguire and Stones is out, I think Braithwaite is one of the leading candidates to kind of fill their shoes. And if he then becomes England centre-back, that's going to only encourage his chances in the Premier League. He'll get a good move if he leaves to Everton because people will want the England centre-back. And yeah, I think he's got a great future. So I'm looking at him. I don't know if I want him now. If I want, that's the only thing putting me off some of these IPOs, is that I can envisage them maybe having price drops in the summer because who's going to want these stocks? There might not be any interest in them. But I think Braithwaite as a long-term hold, you know, Everton have shown that they've tightened that defense up lately. Sean Dyche is kind of working the Dyche defensive solidity now. So him and Tarkowski with Pickford behind them is a really solid unit for Everton. The only thing I'd worry is that, does Pickford leave in the summer? Does Dyche kind of run out of energy and start next season really bad and save Everton towards the end again? And are you going to want Braithwaite for the whole season? I think you are. I think when Everton have a good fixture, he's got a good chance of being team of the week. He likes to get an attacking return now and again from corners. So he's the one I like the most from this week's IPOs. I also really like Harvey Elliott at Liverpool. I just think because he's a little bit more expensive, I can see that price coming down in terms of after his IPO. So I'm not, and also there's a bit of uncertainty with Liverpool. They've got the new manager coming. We don't know how he's going to line up next season. We don't know if he's going to want to bring a whole bunch of his old players with him in the summer, and then that might push players like Harvey Elliott out of the starting lineup. I do really like Harvey Elliott as a player. He sort of reminds me a little bit like Liverpool's Conor Gallagher, and I love Conor Gallagher at Chelsea. So Harvey Elliott has that same kind of tenacity, that same kind of creative passing, box to box potential. Can play on the wing, can play midfield, can play in a few different areas. Has a lot to his game. So I really like Harvey as well. So he's someone I'd possibly think about, but from the three, Braithwaite's the one I'm considering the most. So those are the IPOs. Again, three good IPOs, and I wouldn't think you were crazy if you bought any of these players. So a good week for IPOs again at StocksFC. Let's take a quick look at my portfolio. The only player that I bought since last week is Phil Foden. I bought 4.5 stocks of Phil Foden, which topped up my balance up to 10. And I didn't really expect to get any Phil Foden stocks. So let me just quickly look at his price graph. I got his stocks at so if we look at his current prices, he's kind of been maintaining this price for a while, a steady price. He did have a dip here, and in that dip, I put an order of Phil Foden of 4.5 stocks to top up my balance to 10 stocks. So I had a nice round number, and nothing happened. But I left the order in at this dip. I left the order in. Then he's been at this price. But I think there was a mini little dip here before the weekend when he didn't really do anything this weekend. And I think some people who had Phil Foden, he didn't do anything at the weekend, didn't have a good game for him. I think some people, there was a little dip here, if you can see on the graph, a little tiny dip there. But that tiny dip is where the price closed. There were a lot of people who sold it below that price during the day. And I ended up getting someone fill my order that I just left in my order book. Someone ended up filling it at that price. So I got a nice little pickup here. And then his price went back up to this kind of price. So I got some really good Phil Foden stocks there. A little lesson for me, and hopefully for any beginners watching, is when you see these dips, they're always likely to happen again if that player doesn't deliver. There's lots of impulsive managers. And I think as the Stocks FC community grows, we're going to see more impulsive trading like that, where people who don't quite have the patience for this game possibly get frustrated quickly and sell stocks just to get rid of him because they're angry and they want to quickly invest that money into someone else, which I think is what happened with Phil Foden at the weekend, with him not really delivering. I think we had a mini dip there. People sold, and I think that's something that should happen more often when the user base of Stocks FC grows, when we get more users, more traders. Those kind of impulsive managers, especially new managers, I think, are going to be doing that. So it's always worth keeping some sell and buy orders at low prices for those, because it wasn't like I had it stupidly low. It's not like I had it down here. I had it here where he had a history of a past low, where anyone here who was frustrated with him would look at the past low and go, okay, I'll sell for that past low because I think he's going to drop that bad because he's in bad form. De Bruyne and Haaland, they're getting all the returns. I don't trust Foden anymore. So people like that sold him. I was able to top up my stocks, and he's now my joint highest stock. So if we go on my stocks, the highest ones I owned are all 10 stocks now. We'll have to look at it this way. Trossard 10, Enzo Fernandez 10, De Bruyne 10, and Foden now 10. So I now have 4 stocks on 10. I've got Rodri on 9. And yeah, very happy. I'm in profit on Phil Foden, I think, in quite a nice way. Declan Rice, I'm in a big profit with. Ben White, I'm in a good profit with. They're the sort of ones I'm most in profit with. And if we look at my biggest losers at the moment are Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Enzo Fernandez, Salah. These are all players that are challenging for team of the season. And maybe barring Salah, I think all will be in the Premier League next season. All will be the main guys at their teams next season. Fernandez, Gross, these are some of my other ones that are slightly in the red. However, they're all going to be the main guy at their club next season. Gross, Fernandez, Rodri, and De Bruyne. Salah, maybe. We don't know with Salah. I think Salah's price has been dropping massively lately. Let's have a quick look at Salah's graph. Salah's price has been coming down massively. If I would have sold him, I should have sold him here. Now that I've seen his price do this in the last few weeks, I'm just keeping him. I know it's not, because he's still the highest scoring player in the game. So he's on course to get team of the season. The only thing is if people in the Euros and Copa America do really well at those competitions and replace him. But I think because I've missed this drop, I bought him at this kind of like at this range. He's then dropped. So I'm a little stubborn part of me doesn't want to sell him at a massive loss. So I'm just going to hold him and hope he stays at Liverpool. That's the play, I think, because if he stays at Liverpool, we're going to see this price boost back up with the confidence in the news that he signs a contract extension. If he leaves, I have to hope he doesn't go to Saudi Arabia. I have to hope that he stays in Europe and is at least still useful in the Champions League competitions. Because like we see with Kane, when he has a good Champions League week, he makes the team of the week. So if Salah leaves and goes to another European club, maybe one of the Italian giants or Paris, if he goes to a team like that, he can still get Champions League returns. If he goes to Saudi, then I'm screwed and just relying on international breaks. So I'm going to stick with Salah because I've kind of missed the drop, I think. He's now at a kind of, I don't see him going much lower than this. He's kind of at a bit of a rock bottom price for Salah. I'm just sticking with him. The rest of my stocks that are in the, I'm not really worried about. The ones that I showed you about, I can see them being key players for their Premier League teams next season. So they're long-term holds. So that's how my portfolio is looking. I think it's fairly healthy. There's a couple of players that I want to get rid of, like Clivert, like Nick Pope, probably, Diaby at Villa, maybe Ivan Toney if he doesn't get a good move. Nico Williams at Forest, not that crazy about him. But I don't own that many of those guys, so I'm kind of just hoping that they get moves in the summer, or I hold on to them that because you know players like Nico Williams, he's not the best of players, but he's always got a chance of getting in the team of the week if Nottingham Forest have a good fixture. That's what I'm going to be hoping for next season. So that's how my portfolio is looking. That's how my IPOs are looking. Let's finish this week's video by taking a little preview at the last weekend of the Premier League. So this weekend coming up now for StocksFC, the last weekend of Premier League football for us. Very sad, very tearful occasion, but your last chance to get some in-play rewards from your Premier League players. So let's take the final preview of the season at the Premier League's fixtures for the coming weekend. So with the final week of the Premier League season approaching, it's the final chance to win some in-play rewards with new stocks that you've bought within the last 5 weeks. Little reminder, you can only get in-play rewards for your stocks for the first 5 Tuesdays that you own them. And if you're still new to StocksFC and you haven't played before, sign up with the link in the comments below. You get 3 free stocks. That's out of the way. We're all friends. StocksFC community. Let's keep growing. Let's keep hanging out. Spread the love. So, last weekend of the season, and 6 teams have double fixtures. So, I'm recording this just before Tottenham play Man City on Tuesday. So there are 6 teams playing on Tuesday and Wednesday midweek before the final weekend of the Premier League season. So, you know the game, people. Those teams with double fixtures have a better chance of getting in team of the week this week because they've got 2 chances, basically. So, the 6 teams are Spurs, Man City, Chelsea, Brighton, Newcastle, and Manchester United. Now, some of those teams are more appealing than others. Even though, say, Brighton have 2 rolls of the dice, chances are they're not going to do that well. So, maybe a team like Arsenal, who are going for the title this week, and playing Everton. That's one of my chosen fixtures this week. They're going for the title. Arsenal are going to go all out for this. They have to win. Premier League title race is going to the final game of the season. No matter what happens with Spurs and City on Tuesday before, it's still in Arsenal's hand on the final day. It's not in their hand, but they can still win the league on the last day of the season if Man City lose. It's unlikely, but Arsenal are going to be playing for pride. It's at home. They're going to want to give their fans a big send-off. Even if Man City win the league, they're going to want to give them something to cheer about. So, Arsenal players, if you want to target Havertz again, even though his price has gone to the moon, if you want to jump on Havertz for one last week, I think that's a good pick. Trossard, his IPO came on recently. I've been enjoying Trossard. He's been giving me in-play rewards every week since I bought him on the IPOs. So Trossard's a good pick. Martinelli, not so much. So I think they're probably the best 2 Arsenal attackers. West Ham are playing Manchester City on the last day of the season, which is kind of why we expect Man City to win on the last day of the season. A lot depends on what happens in the Manchester City and Spurs game. If Spurs somehow manage to beat Man City, somehow, it's going to be really interesting the final day of the season because Manchester City should still beat West Ham. I think whatever happens, Man City assets are still really good. De Bruyne's price I've got on screen right now is still going down because he's not being as clinical as he used to be. People are a bit suspicious that he's going to make team of the season. They're also a bit of a dip before the Euros. So last week I talked about why now's a good time to start thinking about De Bruyne before the Euros, before the hype. I think 1 week before the Euro starts or a few days before the Euro starts, De Bruyne's price should go back up. So I still think it's a good time to consider buying De Bruyne. His price is still going down. I know you might want to wait till it goes even further lower. Maybe if he doesn't do anything in the final games of the season, his price is going to still keep dropping down, like we saw with Foden. Maybe you want to get a few buy orders in lower than he currently is, just in anticipation that some people get frustrated with him at the weekend and sell him. I think there's a good opportunity there with De Bruyne still. Same with Foden. His price is kind of remaining at a steady line. It's not dropping as much as De Bruyne, but both of them are going to be in the Euros. Both of them have a few games with Man City left. They also have the FA Cup final to play when it'll be in a week where there's not much competition from other teams. So remember, the FA Cup final is going to be covered on StocksFC that week, and there won't be Premier League football competing with those players. So Manchester City and Man United players will be good for that week. So I think possibly the prices are dropping, but should rise maybe in the FA Cup final week, maybe before the Euros. So I'd consider Man City because they're playing West Ham and they have that double fixture against Spurs. Arsenal, Luton v Fulham. Luton are going to be really fighting for survival, and also it's at home. I just think with Arsenal and Luton, even if they don't get their desired outcome, they're still going to want to perform for the fans. And Fulham at home, Fulham have got nothing to play for. Fulham have been on holiday for a few weeks now, so Luton should do well. There's not many Luton players on Stocks FC, but the ones they are, you might want to snap them up for a quick week. You got to be really careful though, because they're not going to be in the Premier. If they're not in the Premier League next season, then they're not going to be scoring you points and you're going to want to quickly sell them. So Luton's a really big gamble. They could do well this weekend. And if they somehow stayed up and Forest get battered, then it's like an ultimate payoff. Then you get them next season, but it's unlikely. So be careful with Luton. Chelsea, Bournemouth. Chelsea are on a roll. They got Brighton midweek, so Chelsea have a double game week. So I missed out on Jackson a while ago. Should have gone for him. Jackson looks like he's in good form. Gallagher's on the platform. If you want to think about the defenders too, I think Malo Gusto's there. He could possibly be back in at right back now. He came back last week from injury. So also Reece James came back from injury. Reece James might be one to think about. I don't know if Reece James will start, but he did come off the bench last week. And as a Chelsea fan, it was glorious to see Reece James come off the bench when Chelsea were losing. After a few minutes of him being on the field, we were winning. He set up the winning goal. Reece James is back. So Chelsea have got Brighton and Bournemouth. Bournemouth at home on the last game of the season is a really good fixture. Chelsea have put some form together now. It's now 3 wins in a row. They're going for that European finish. So I'm not going to go for it because I don't want to curse them. And also I'm wary of Chelsea next season. I'm worried that they'll sign some players. So Jackson's the player that I think you want on form. But as I said, when I didn't buy Jackson in the IPO, it was because I didn't know if next season he was going to be Chelsea's main man. I just think Chelsea will sign a striker. It's the most obvious hole in their team. And that's what puts me off Jackson. However, if you've got Jackson and you bought him in the IPOs, it's been a really good move because he's been in Team of the Weeks. He's given you in plays and he's got 2 good fixtures on the last day of the season. So they're the Chelsea picks. And then Sheffield United Spurs is the fixture that I'm picking for the last fixture. Surprise, surprise, it's not for Sheffield United players. I think it's for Spurs. I think if you want to gamble that Spurs are going to give Man City a really good game on Tuesday, what will happen is if they get a good result against Man City on Tuesday, the stock prices of Son, Maddison, Brennan Johnson, whoever is the Spurs player that does the best, that price is going to go shooting up because then they'll have a really easy fixture at the weekend, Sheffield United, and they'll have some confidence after getting a good result against Man City. I've put it as my 5th fixture of the weekend because it's the longest shot. I do see Man City just smashing Spurs. I do see them just destroying Spurs. However, it's not unheard of for Spurs to give them a good game. Spurs are really attacking and they could just score more than Man City. I think if Spurs are to get a good result, they'll beat Man City 4-3 or something crazy like that. So that's the last fixture that I'm going to target for the weekend. So that's my final preview of the Premier League season. Next week, we won't have any Premier League fixtures to talk about, and the season will be coming to an end. We'll be talking about the summer stuff. So it's the last week of the Premier League season. It's the last chance for you to get some short-term trades on players. But like me, like with my portfolio, I think most of us are just holding off the spending now, waiting for the Euros and then waiting for next season. So let me know in the comments what you think of my trades, what you think I should be looking at, any tips, any suggestions, leave them below, and I'll see you next week. Peace.